This cruise happened from December 13th to the 19th on 2025. This was a multi-family cruise that we took with Cassandra's family, the Demergians, Oz's parents, Uncle Neil, the Millers, and of course us. The terminal was very full that morning. Hi, Sarah. Oh, there goes Lightning McQueen. We got on the ship and everybody congregated, and we were waiting for the restaurants to open. And of course, at dinner that night, we all wore our cruise shirts so we could find each other. And we had one of the biggest tables in the dining room. I think it was like a 17-seater. And Zoe loves her Caesar salad. That night we took a walk up on deck just to kind of see, what was going on. Apparently not much. Next day we were at sea, and we just kind of lounged around and goofed off at the pool. Went to go grab something to eat, things of that nature.
Me too, and I love it.
You go, Speed Racer.
Us, yeah.
And then these are some pictures from that night's dinner. That night there was some music going on, and of course the kiddies decided they wanted to dance. So they danced. You go, girl. And of course we all went to the show that night. Next morning, we were in port. And we were in Cozumel. Of course, wasting away again in Margaritaville, Grandma decided she needed a drink after the long boat voyage. To go out on our excursion, they had us wait in a waiting area, and they had a mariachi band there. We were waiting for our bus. And here we are on the tour bus. It was like a little trolley that kind of took us through town. There's a Hard Rock Cafe and Casino on Cozumel. We got on the bus and we started touring on up the coast. And the port that we came into was not the normal port that we normally would come into, which was kind of weird, because we've been to Cozumel a couple more times, and they usually would bring us in at a different location, but this one was totally different this time. You never get tired of that view. They had a lot of horse-drawn carriages down at this area, the island. I took a tour of the city. Now this is the port that we normally would have came into when we come to Cozumel, and over this area there's a lot of shops and a lot of places to go shopping and buy souvenirs, you know, all kinds of stuff. Now, the interesting thing about Cozumel is it's about 30 miles off of the mainland, and people transport. They go back and forth between the mainland and the island. They do it with those yellow shuttle boats, and that's how they get back and forth between the mainland and the island. Everything has to be shipped to the island, and those come in on different boats. So the tour kind of dropped us off in this little square area, and we got to walk around and just see the sights. I mean, it was okay. It wasn't nothing to write home about, but you know, it had a bunch of shops. You could buy just about anything you want out there, from medications to hats. Had musicians out there for, you know, hire. The area was nice. It was definitely different, and of course it was around Christmas time. Of course, you had to have your picture taken at the Cozumel sign. Then we got back on the shuttle bus and continued our tour. This tour was interesting. We've had better tours of Cozumel. This one kind of just ran us up one street as far as you could go, and they turned around and they started bringing us back down toward the ship. Ooh, boobies in Spanish. Then we got back on the ship and we headed to our next destination. The one thing I didn't know they had in Cozumel was pirates. And here we go. They're attacking the ship. Oh no! Small boats! Where is that boy's mother? Oh, yeah, there she is. Next port of call was Grand Cayman. This one we didn't have to walk down a pier. They actually had to send tender boats out to the ship to pick us up and take us to land into the port of Grand Cayman. Still can't believe the color of that water. There were a few ships in port this day. I think I counted 4 of them. When we got to the port, it wasn't exactly a tourist spot. It was more of a freight port. But they had the buses there to greet us and take us on our excursion. And the excursion that we took was a tour of Grand Cayman. And by God, they toured Grand Cayman. We were all over the place. We saw everything.
Only the crazy tourist walks on the street. Look.
One thing we kind of noticed is Grand Cayman is a very nice area. Not run down like some of the other places we visited. You can kind of tell there's money on that island because everything was nice, well kept. Roads were nice. Traffic, as you'll see a little bit later, was a little bit rough, but all in all, it's a very pretty island.
Gone over the limit 3 times.
And of course, we have to take pictures of the cemetery for Connie.
Look to the left, the cemetery, and if you notice, It's a little different. 3 feet above ground, more like New Orleans because of the high water table. Yes, and we have to be careful you don't go too deep.
And the interesting thing about this tour ride was I got to sit in the front passenger seat, and by the end of the tour, it was just me and the driver talking back and forth. It was almost as if there was nobody else in the bus. So, you know, I'd ask questions and he'd answer them, and then we'd talk back and forth. And it was like we were the only two on the bus. It was kind of cool.
They knew how to make them. They knew how to make them.
Yes, I think the contour of the roof, if you look around the back, it's like it's contoured to lift the wind. That's one of the things I noticed. And why? Look, guys, no grass, no mowing of the grass, sand instead of grass. Why? Back in those days, there wasn't any video cameras for theft, so mom and grandma would sweep the yard. West Bay, Town Square.
If you take a look at these gas prices, these are per liter, so it's not even by gallon. So it's pretty expensive to drive there.
Here. The government cleans the beaches and clean any of the public areas, and very, very clean. You've noticed that, right?
I believe our first stop was Hell on Grand Cayman. And I guess that's actually the name of the town. Here we pulled in, had a couple of little gift shops, and you could actually walk out the boardwalk. This is not black lava. This is actually black limestone that's been eroded over time. But it really looks like the landscape of hell. It's kind of funny. I guess it's the only place on an island that has this. And of course we needed a break. Too much walking. Back on the bus, we headed to our next destination. The next stop was the Tortuga Rum Company, where they make rum, and they had rum cakes, and I think we actually ended up with a sample of the rum cakes. Oh my God. Has anybody seen Angie? That's right. She wasn't on this tour. So we jumped back on the tour bus, and took us to a different coast. And there they had a blowhole when the waves come in. All this area was, limestone also. It wasn't sandy. And of course, another cemetery. Then we stopped at a little memorial for the wreck of 10 sails. Very interesting. It was like in 1700s. There was a big boat wreck out on the reef. Google it. It's an interesting read. It's the wreck of the 10 sails. And there they had, some pieces of the wrecks of the boats. And then you get to walk out to the ocean. There was the memorial for the wreck. They ended up wrecking 9 ships on the reef. Then again, we went back on the tour bus. Like I said, we put some miles on that day. I went all over the island, from one end to the other, and he showed us all the things of the island. Like I said, it doesn't look like a normal Caribbean island. There's a little more money on that island. They said a lot of celebrities own properties out there. Then we stopped for our little beach trip. I think we were there for about 45 minutes or so. Yeah, it had a pretty view, but you could see the rains were starting to come in, and we were on the opposite end of the island compared to where the ship was. Heading back from the ship, we hit traffic, and we were in traffic for quite some time. Matter of fact, we were going to be late getting back to the ship. The ship had to wait for us because we were on a excursion through the cruise ship. We're on the tender, headed back towards the ship.
Okay.
And of course, we missed dinner that evening, so we had to just go up to the buffet. And as we walked back out, we walked through the pool area, and it was dead. The next day was Jamaica. And here is what I shot from the ship of Jamaica. We didn't get off the ship today. I guess yesterday in Grand Cayman kind of wore everybody out, so we just kind of stayed on the ship and goofed off and looked around and stuff like that. Now this is interesting. I don't know if this was an amusement park or if this was somebody's house, but I could see it from the ship and just thought it was kind of cool. Oh boy, there goes Speed Racers. Going through the chicane. This was the other side of the ship, and this was the actual port. Wasn't much to look at. A couple little shops there, but anything you were going to do, you had to basically take a shuttle bus or a taxi out to town to see what Jamaica was about. Oh boy, there she is again. And I guess this was a mall, shopping mall, and a terminal building for this port. Again, don't know what was in there. According to Cassandra, it was just a bunch of shops. Then, of course, we all met for dinner that night. And we were all there. Come on, Zoe, hurry up with the Caesar salad. The next port of call was Nassau, and we're standing in line waiting for our tour to start. Hey, Sarah. Somebody traded in her wheels for something a little slower. And because Grandma had never been to Nassau before, we took another bus tour to show her the area. Rangy. There's the port, and of course our little shuttle tour was taking us over to the big resort of Atlantis. Something interesting about Atlantis is they don't let us in there anymore. You could walk around outside, but they wouldn't let you walk inside like they used to in prior years. The tour continued, and I think we had to stop for a stoplight or something, but there was this church next to us with older cemetery. if I'm not mistaken, I believe this was the governor's house, and so it was a stop on the tour. And I believe this was the fort that was built on Nassau to protect it back in the day. So it would protect the harbor. And if you went up top, you could actually see the harbor of Nassau. And again, we were just touring any areas that the bus went. We got a real good tour of Nassau. We just about saw the entire city.
92nd gate on our right, right in the front of the church. There is this one statue of a lady holding a baby in her hand. And there is another one right here adjacent to the wall. Now these two statues represent the other two maidens that came down with the princess. When they came with the princess, they came to deal with the females that were actually pregnant and having difficulties with their pregnancy, such as stillborn and any other birth defects.
We stopped at another rum house to see how they made rum. Then you got to go get you a sample. But of course,
and you can come into the island and actually come as close into about any other part of the island. You will sink your ship or whatever it is.
now I believe this is part of the fort.
So Fort Charlotte is the biggest fort here on the island. This fort here boasts two forts in one, which is Fort Darcy and Fort Charlotte. Really here to our right, that is where they used to keep all of their gunpowder, cannonballs, knives, swords, everything used to be on the inside there. So right here where you see this portion of the fort, this here is Fort Charlotte.
We're on top of the area now where the fort was positioned. And as you can see, you can kind of see out and see the fort.
That is Fort Darcy. So the two forts converge.
And you can see where the fort is. Yeah, then we stopped at a little beach. You know, you could get out and splash around for 10-15 minutes. And it was right off of where cruise ships were. And then we were headed back to the ship. And there was always a Diamonds International, any port you went to. They just love trying to sell you diamonds and jewelry. And this was part of the right outside of the terminal at Nassau. And of course, we went to dinner that night. Uncle Neil was having a little bit too much fun. And then it was time for birthday cake. It was Oz's birthday. And his crown. Yeah, soak it in. Did we really need to see that? This was a little chocolate shop on the ship. And we got a couple little trinkets. And this was the last night on the ship. So we just kind of walked around and saw all the sights. And with that, it was the end. It was time to get off the ship.
That's all, folks.